Okay, today we're just going to take a look at patterns. The two types we've looked at so far are ones that involve completing a pattern, and the other one involves the pattern rule. So we'll just go over both of these. A few things to remember when you're doing these. One is make sure as you're going through that you label what's happening from step to step to give yourself a better idea as to what's going on. So for example, we looked at one of our patterns in terms of being fairly constant, and by that we meant that it was increasing or decreasing at the same rate. Now when we actually get deeper into algebra, we'll actually realize that constant has a number of different meanings. But in this case, for example, if we looked at 2, 4, 6, and I asked you what were the next two numbers, right? So if we look at 2, 4, and 6, to go from 2 to 4 plus 2, 4 to 6 plus 2, right? So 6 plus 2 would give me 8, 8 plus 2 would give me 10, and so on and so on. You could go on for a long period of time. But patterns don't always have to increase that same way. For example, I could start off with 5 and go, my next number could be 10. And my next number could be 20. And then after that, my next number could be 35. Well, in this case, when I went from 5 to 10, I went up by 5. When I went from 10 to 20, I went up by 10. When I went from 20 to 35, I went up by 15, which means my next jump would be to go up by 20. And my jump after that would be to go up by 25. So in all these cases, the big thing you want to focus on is what's the change that is going on here. Now when you go into middle school, you'll actually start to use some of these changes to develop equations. We'll do some basic equation formation this year. And remember too that this type of patterning doesn't have to just relate to numbers, it can relate to patterns as well. So I could have, for example, a dot here with a multiplication symbol below it. And my next one, I could have 2 dots with 2 multiplications. For the next one, 3 dots with 3 multiplications. So following that pattern, each time I go on, I'm adding a dot and I'm adding an X. And that's when we get into what's called the pattern rule. When we're talking about the pattern rule, we're just saying, okay, how can I describe what's going on, or how can I describe the changes that are going on here in words? So for the pattern rule here, for each term, we would add a circle and an X. So that would be a pattern rule. And we can use that pattern rule in a different way if we want to create patterns. So for example, we could say, okay, and just use numbers, I could say you're starting with, so our term, our first term, our value is 6. And my pattern rule could be increases by 5 each time. So for my second one, we'd have 6 plus 5 is 11. For my third one, I'd have 11 plus 5, which would be 16, and so on and so on. So these are just the general rules. Tomorrow is just a quiz to get us going, and then after that we'll just look at some complex interpretations of these in terms of actually you can do things like add 5 times 2, or add 5 divide by 2. Either way, there's different ways of using this, but tomorrow we're just going to be looking at generally, can you take a pattern, can you extend it?